Welcome, everybody. Sometimes when I'm doing this show, it takes a while to kind of prepare. What are you going to talk about? What topics? What can I get people excited to see tonight? And tonight is the polar opposite of that because we have breaking news. Of course, after an anemic performance against UCLA running the ball, where I don't think I've seen a game where LSU struggled so mightily to run the ball. And I told people all offseason, LSU was going to struggle running the ball. There's no ifs, ands about it. They were going to struggle. And boy, that wasn't bad. I don't think I've ever seen an LSU rushing attack where you can't get a yard. And that's exactly what we saw. I apologize. When Tyrion Davis Price had the ball against UCLA, he had negative yards before contact. We're not talking after contact. We're talking about before contact, meaning he, on average, did not make it to the line of scrimmage, which, of course, most people are pointing the fingers at offensive line. And we're going to talk about that. And I have a very special guest who's been a very vocal alum for the Tigers. His name's Will Blackwell. Of course, he played on championship teams at LSU. Really good offensive lines for LSU. And quite frankly, there was just kind of a different mindset with the unit. And that's what I really want to talk to him about because they did not have that nasty hard nose. I do have some good criticisms for the coordinators. Of course, we were all wanting to see the debut for the coordinators. And I have some, legitimate X's and O criticism on both sides. So if you have any questions for Will, he's, of course, getting set up right now. Looks like we can bring him in just a bit. Go ahead and put him in there because we'll just ask Will. And, one of the things I love about Will, he's one of my favorite people to follow on Twitter. You can follow him at WillieB60 on Twitter because he tells it like it is. That's why I love having guys like Will Blackwell who combine knowledge, closeness with the program, but they're also going to be really candid. So pretty excited to bring him on. Of course, tonight's show is brought to you by Tramonte's Meat and Seafood. They are your tailgating and homegaiting headquarters this football season. Make sure to pay him a visit. Owned by locally Mike Tramonte. You're supporting local business. This week, he's been very busy supporting the community as we recover from Hurricane Ida, but he's also been opening his store and running that business. That's one of the great things about supporting local business. He is home of the ribeye roll, the best piece of meat you will ever put on your grill. I promise you. He is Chairman's Reserve, Wagyu beef, 30 kinds of sausage. So whatever you're looking for. Lunch deli open during the day. They usually close around 3:00, so you can get a good burger or something like that. Really good catering. Awesome stuff. They are located on Old Jefferson near Parkview Baptist. Give them a call at 225-757-7665 or go to Tramontes.com to get your catering or tailgating start. I think Will's still getting a little set up here. So I'm going to give him just a bit. But guys, overall, not a good look for LSU. And what was shocking to me was the immediate hot seat for Coach Orgeron coming into this game. And one of the thoughts that struck me different. I don't think in the history of sports, I don't think that a coach who's gone undefeated in a season, particularly one who's gone 15-0 and arguably the greatest season in college football history. And I don't even think it's arguable, in my opinion. It just is, if you ask me. I don't think that hot seat talk has ever quite started. Say it's 15 games you won. We're 11 games into it, and there's a lot of hot seat talk. Of course, in the post-game show, people were on it early and often. They're moving on to who the new head coach is going to be and who the coordinators is. I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, it's too early for that talk. But we'll see. I'm hearing all around the place that people feel a variety of different ways. But, of course, to bolster that anemic rushing attack, which I'm going to break down the elements in the game, but I definitely think that was by far the worst part of the game was the running attack. They could not run the ball. and that makes you one-dimensional and predictable. And a lot of people criticize Max Johnson for being what he was. I would describe him as stiff. That's how I would describe him. Just a little bit off, a little bit timing off, but and he couldn't really make something out of nothing like we kind of got used to with Burrow. And it wasn't perfect. I'm sorry if I'm looking down here, guys. I am trying to help out Will get set up in the stream here. Of course, we're having a little bit of trouble. Oh, okay, I think I see him popping in there. Yeah, he's got. Let's see. I'm gonna give him just a bit because I know we're excited to talk to Will, y'all. I'm gonna get to a few comments here, bro. It's Tuesday. The game has been over. It's a new week and a lot of football left to be played. Keaton, I understand you. However, I think a lot of people still want to talk about that because, quite frankly, there's some interesting things about McNeese, and we're going to talk about McNeese because, of course, former LSU coach Frank Wilson is their head coach, and of course, their quarterback is Cody Orgeron. But I don't think there's anybody in this chat who legitimately believes McNeese is going to come in here and threaten LSU. I don't think anybody thinks LSU played that bad. But maybe, I don't know. Y'all let me know. If y'all think McNeese can come in here and beat LSU, let me know. All right. Introducing all-star guard for LSU, incredible player, played for LSU on championship teams, offensive lineman who knows a thing or two about how to improve an offensive line and maybe what's missing. Introducing Will Blackwell. Will.
Hey, what's up, big head?
Me too, man. I'm kind of having to
thing a little bit.
Yeah. All right, guys. If y'all have any questions for Will, now is your time to get them in. Will, you watched the game at LSU and UCLA. What were your just overall impressions?
I was a little embarrassed, Preston. I think obviously I'm not the only one. Anytime you lose to a out of conference team, it's a little bit shocking, especially considering I like to say that we kind of started the whole thing. Back in 2010, we played North Carolina, and that was kind of like the beginning of the preseason blockbuster game. We played Oregon the next year, and from there it's kind of grown. So I feel a little bit of a sense of pride, like, hey, we kind of did this in the beginning. We started all this, and now we're at the point where it's kind of biting us in the butt. With that being said, this last week's performance, given the circumstances and everything, it's just not up to par. It's not good enough, no matter what part of the game you look at. Of course, the tough thing is Max probably would have had a decent game had he had a little bit of time to throw the ball and a little bit more area to operate under. So it's tough. Besides him, it's tough for me to say that anybody really had a good game in any aspect.
Well, Will, you really didn't lose very many games during your time at LSU, of course. But, I mean, what would you have done to have a quarterback throwing for 300 yards in games? Y'all wouldn't have lost the game.
That's the thing, and I kind of, with my buddies, we've gone back and forth. We've come full circle, right? We've come from being the most physical, violent, just like nasty team out there. And we had to figure out what we had to do to try and get back, maybe a little less nasty, a little bit more finesse. And then we went too far. We went all the way back around the circle to now we're the soft team that all we do is throw the ball. I mean, we threw the ball 50 times. LSU threw the ball 50 times. Well, it might have been, 45 or 6? How many times has that ever happened? Before 2019, how many times did that ever happen in the history of LSU?
Not very many, but especially not very many times with a win, more importantly. I mean,
yeah, exactly my point. So I don't think this team has an identity. That was pretty clear from the play calling, which I've always said that at the college level, in the high school level too, players win games, coaches lose games, and they definitely lost this one.
Definitely. I mean, absolutely. And it's a team loss is what it appears. Now, when you played, LSU kind of had a reputation of being nitty gritty in the trenches, right? And as an alumni now, you look, the number one criticism this team is taking is that offensive line just got beat down. I mean, and there's other criticisms, of course. It's a team loss, but that's probably the first finger people are pointing at. How does that feel for you as an alumni, and what would you want to do about that?
it's tough, right? Obviously, I want my peers, I guess you could say, or my whatever successors to play well, but I don't really focus on the unit, just the team as a whole, right? My whole point and the thing that really aggravates me is that if that would have happened for 2011, say we get down in a game and uh, we're not supposed to be losing, there's probably half a dozen guys on that sideline that at any time are going to either walk up and down yelling, or are going to walk up and down coaching, or are going to walk up and down talking. There's a whole nucleus of guys that wouldn't let it happen. I mean, obviously you get to a point. What's up, Blaine? Obviously you get to a point where you're overmatched and you just can't win the game. For instance, when we lost the championship game in Alabama, but we still didn't do where we still had people that were in it, that were focused, that were leading, and I didn't see any of that anywhere. I don't see Derek Stingley, losing his mind on the sideline because we're playing, quite frankly, like a bunch of sissies, and that's just not how the schools play. That's not how the team's supposed to play. That's not how anybody in Louisiana really is. I mean, we're a bunch of hard people, and that, I think that's what's disappointing is we're so used to seeing a team that is going to fight and fight and fight and claw their way back no matter what. And now just kind of felt like they sat down and took it, and that's the hard part.
Yeah, I bet that is rough. I do have a specific question because I believe you were on the team when Gustav hit, right before the season.
Yes.
That's probably the best comparison hurricane we have for an LSU team. Did that impact you and the team's preparation going into that game?
Well, it is a little bit different because we played App State, so that's I can't remember if that was right after or right before they beat Michigan. But it's kind of
right
like
after. Yeah, right after. Year after.
Even still, it was still similar to McNeese. Like, we knew that App State wasn't going to beat us, right? It's just the whole million things would have had to go wrong. So that's a little bit different. Two, we stayed there. We hunkered down. Gustav wasn't near as bad. We ended up probably getting more free time than we would have during the regular week. We got to go outside and play around in the wind and be stupid college kids like we wanted to be. So it was a little bit different. I figured that with them being on the road in Houston, they'd kind of be used to it. Used to hotel life, kind of be in a groove, kind of like you would be if you were a pro baseball player. You just kind of get used to being on the road. Obviously, I was wrong. They weren't prepared. Whether the hurricane was the issue or the travel was the issue, it doesn't matter. They weren't ready to play.
Right. I agree 100%. And to me, I just thought going into that game, I mean, like you said, I mean, you kind of get away and it's an escape. You don't have to worry about, your professors and going around campus and stuff. It's kind of like being a pro team. I didn't think it would impact the team getting away, but we'll never really know. I mean, you can't really truly get inside their heads.
Nor does it matter at that point.
Someone did ask, I'm not going to put it on the screen here because they kind of ask a position if they're the weak group. I don't want to ask about if the particular player on the offensive line is a weakness because I don't like singling out guys, especially amateur athletes. But what I am going to ask is what particular aspect of this offensive line, whether it be pass blocking, pulling, telegraphing, what did you watch and specifically you thought was a fundamental problem with this unit?
Well, obviously we can assume what pass protections that we think that they're in, just from numbers. Really, it's just at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. Like, getting a hat on a hat. The one thing that really aggravated me was that what's the guy's name? Number 37, I think Lake, defensive back for the Bruins, all over the field. I would say beginning of the second quarter, maybe towards the end of the first, he got a free shot on Max. I'm talking about
free
safety blitz from probably 15 yards. I mean, it was a great hit on that guy's part.
Yeah.
I did not see any of our guys react. If first of all, if it was one of the offensive linemen's fault, right, you got to assume responsibility. I don't know. It could have been the running back. But I would never – and the guys that I play with would never let a guy get hit like that and not find some type of retaliation, whether it's like, okay, no matter what my responsibility is, number 37 is going to get it at some point in this game.
Yeah.
And I didn't see that from anybody. That's the
No.
thing that really upsets me from an offensive line standpoint, right? Because if you've ever watched hockey, they got these guys that are enforcers, and there's a great movie about it with Sean William Scott. That's what the offensive linemen are. They're enforcers.
Absolutely.
You're the protectors. You protect
Nasty.
everybody on that field, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I'm gonna bring a story a little closer to home to you, because I remember I was in the locker room after y'all beat Tennessee in 2010. Of course, you played next to T-Bob, right? And what really stood out to me, and he was hilarious in the locker room after the game, but his helmet was broken because he was so pissed that they had lost to Tennessee and he kind of messed up the snap or whatever. I mean, he had to snap with 1 second left, but regardless, he was just so mad that the job was not done. He slammed his helmet on the ground, broke it, and then played a play with a broken helmet. And I think that's that kind of passion that was cultural among the guys.
Exactly. And I'm looking over here in the comments. Tony Williams over here, shout out with the attitude reflects leadership, 100%.
100%.
I mean, this team doesn't go out there and think, or it doesn't seem like it. You know, it doesn't project that they go out there and they say, I don't care who steps on this field, we're not losing this game. Like, it doesn't matter. Yeah. I'll leave everything I got to. My buddy's not getting hurt. We're not losing this game. We looked at it as it was a fight. It was like a war. It's a battle, and it feels like now there's just a game. And I don't know if you can really change that, Preston. I mentioned this on AFR yesterday that I don't think that Miles and those guys ever made us into killers or whatever you want to call it, but we all had that mentality, and they found us and put us together. So you got to give him credit for that. I think that there's just a lot of spots on this team that don't have that mentality, and I don't know if that's really something that can be taught. But then again, the game's changed so much in 10 years that maybe you don't have to be that way.
Yeah, it has certainly changed quite a bit. I remember thinking that this kind of style of football was kind of sissy blue shirt football. You know what I mean? Yeah, right. That kind of backfired, didn't it? I personally think it's more funny than anything. But here's a good question from Chance Babb, and I've been meaning to get to here. No improvement, 2 seasons, 2 coaches, same result. I mean, how much could on the field coaching? I mean, is it actually coaching that is the issue with this offensive line? Because you're going through a lot of different guys here, or is there something more? Maybe I want to point to recruiting being an issue just because there's lack of bodies. But what do you think?
Well, it's a combination, right? It all stems back to, I think, the transition, right, from Miles to Ogeron. That in that last year, we didn't sign an offensive lineman in that class. So you're going into 2016, 2015, already at a disadvantage, already down numbers. Then you have a year in which you get rid of your head coach and hire an interim guy, and that's kind of later in the season and shakes things up right before signing day. So there's another year. So there's 2 years that you're already behind the ball in recruiting. The next year, you have this okay season in 2018, a decent season, good season. You finish it up 2019, great year, and then you lose some guys, right? So you're back to rebuilding. Well, then your coach gets fired at the end of 2020. So every single year has been one thing after another, and it's kind of been hard to talk about cohesion. It's been hard to keep the same guys in one room, and a lot of times that's what it takes. You got to play together for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and you get to a point where you know what each other's doing. Then you have Dare Rosenthal gets in trouble, kicked off the team. So there's been a lot of issues. But then again, it kind of reverts back to me about mentality. I don't see these guys as there's some. I see it some in Deculus and some in Ingram, but I don't see them bringing it out in other guys, and that's the disappointing part, is that if you really are hard, for lack of a better term, then you're going to bring it out in other guys. And that's the whole reason we're still at Tyrann Mathieu. He made all of us feel like we were that guy. And I'm not saying that there's going to be another Tyrann Mathieu, but somebody has to try and emulate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you there. And what stands out to me, you were mentioning, there's a little bit of it in Deculus, there's a little bit of it in Ingram. And what stands out to me is very frustrating is a lot of these guys on the individual level have different issues. You mentioned that just unblocked spear to Max Johnson. I mean, that was Ed Ingram missing. I mean, they basically bit on they showed 9 men blitzing, which I think you're smart enough as an offensive lineman. If you see 9 guys blitzing, one of them's a fake, so you got to try to adjust inside to out. Well, then next thing you know, Liam Shanahan and Ed Ingram are sitting there picking their nose while the left tackle and running back are picking up 3 blitzers. Mental error, but then on the, you also, there's other issues with footwork and pad level with other guys. So that's the frustrating thing to me is there's so many different issues with different guys.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You can't just put a blanket on it and fix everything, right? You can't just say, all right, guys, well, we didn't block right on the overfront, and that's what we messed up on. That's all we got to fix is to make sure that we do our assignment. That's not it. Like you said, they're missing twists. They're not picking up. They didn't do anything right.
Right.
They're rushing for 1.5 yards. 1 point. That's abysmal. There's no point in running the ball, and that's why we threw it. I think somebody said in the comments 46 times. So
46 times, right?
It just feels like we've come full circle on this whole thing, and I don't even. Thankfully, I'm not the coach, so I don't have to figure it out. Yeah, I don't know where to go from here.
I mean, how about this for stats? Tyrion Davis-Price, his average yards before contact, meaning where he got hit on average, was -1.
Oh my
How does that happen? How do you let a guy get hit -1? Now, of course,
guys. How many times did he run the ball the other night?
Oh man, I'd have to pull that up. But I want to say 13. 13.
Okay, so oh my God. So he should have on a bad night, he should have had 40 yards. 3 yards a carry. 3 yards is not a very good night, right?
Well, right. It's a bad night.
We are 3 times worse than bad. Yeah. 3 times worse than bad. So,
and someone who has the stat sheet, please correct. It might have been 16. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. There's just so many numbers. Do you think there's a chance Coach O was overlooking UCLA?
Well, either way, not just Coach O, the players. I mean, it is a scheme, but we all recognize that UCLA played this like it was a Super Bowl, like it was a national championship. But that's what you got to expect. That's why you schedule that game, because you don't want to play. You don't want to play McNeese in the first game and know that no matter what happens that you're going to win. You want to play somebody that can beat you. You don't want to let them beat you, obviously, but you want to test. You have to have something to look forward to and to train for all offseason. And God, it just kind of looks like they either missed the boat or maybe they just completely overlooked UCLA.
Yeah, here's a question outside of offensive line. I don't know if you're sick about talking about the trench guys yet, but what you think? Shake up quarterback? That's the one place I wouldn't be looking at. What do you think?
Yeah, I think no. I definitely I hear good things about Nussmeier, right? He's going to be good. He's our guy for the future. So in saying that, why are we going to put him out there with this offensive line when we don't have to? What's the point? What's the point of letting him get hit like Max Johnson got hit? Especially considering the fact that Max has been through it. He's a resilient kid. He's got a lot of help at home. I think his dad kind of knows how to handle the ups and downs. Yeah, I honestly don't worry about him at all, especially after seeing the way he got up after taking those hits. I think you got to use this as just the ultimate teaching opportunity for Nussmeier, and that is the beauty of the red shirt, right?
Yeah,
we don't want him to have to play. We don't want him to have to play. It is awesome, fun to have a big freshman that's out there. Oh, look, we got a freshman recruit, yada yada yada. But you don't want to if you don't have to.
I agree.
We don't have to. Now, if Nussmeier can go out there and pick up a safety blitzing from 15, or if he can pass off a twist in the run game, then hell yeah, put him out there. But
did you see him in the spring game at all?
Saw a little bit of it. I know that he looked well. However, it's been clear that Max is the guy. There's no
I
reason
agree.
to even put that doubt into Max's head right now. He's got enough to worry about. Plus, it doesn't matter who's playing quarterback if we can't block anybody.
I agree. I agree 100%. And I think they were a little bit better pass blocking than they were run blocking. But, I mean, it still wasn't great. I think the only reason people are saying Nuss is because he's kind of that little gunslinger mold, you know, kind of get the ball out. And Max is just a little stiff is the best way I'd describe it, where he just wants to be standing straight up, not running, on balance. You know, people saying Miles' injury costed us that game. I can understand where people are coming from with that. But I think we saw a good sample size of both of them, and
you know, who knows what Miles would have done. Everything that I've been told and led to believe is that Max was going to be the guy no matter what. Hated for Miles, he was a great quarterback, but I think that this staff was sold on Max either way. Therefore, that kind of makes that a little bit of a moot point. But I do think that Max Johnson's a good quarterback.
I agree.
I see some people might not necessarily disagree, but then again, it's really hard to judge this kid fully, given the context in which he's played. I mean, think about last season. We were ready to burn the house down after the first game.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, Miles gets hurt and we throw this kid in here and we're like, oh, okay, Max can play a little bit. Now we're ready to go on to the next one. No.
Well, I think it's that old saying, everybody's favorite player is the backup quarterback. You know what I mean? I mean, anytime you lose, everybody's like, oh, maybe if we could just find a magic quarterback. I think Max Johnson's good. And I think he's definitely for this season the best you're going to get. I'm glad it's kind of not a crowded quarterback room where you're playing, you know, QB carousel, because we saw it didn't work great. Michael Chavis here wants to know what kind of practice Coach O is running. You know, to me, I mean, I never played at the level you did, but to me, the less physical practice was, the more physical I could get in the game. Does practice have anything to do with it?
You know, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, it's like I said earlier, it's a mentality. And the thing about it is, when we were playing, all we ever wanted to do was prove that we were as tough as Marcus Spears, or as tough as, you know, Kyle Williams, or as tough as Jack Hunt, or any of those guys that we grew up watching, even the ones that we play with, Tyson Jackson, Glenn Dorsey. If we could just be 3/4 as tough as they are, then we're going to make it. Then we're going to be all right. And eventually, you know, that builds as you're a freshman, and then you go to a sophomore, and you're like, okay, I'm getting there. And you get to a junior, and you're like, all right, I'm 3/4 of the way there. And by the time you're a senior, you don't even think about it. You're just the guy. And I don't see a bunch of people out there thinking that they're the guy. You have to have that mentality, especially as an offensive lineman, or you're going to be running for -1 yard per rush.
Yeah, I mean, that's unbelievable to me, and I could only imagine how that feels. Getting a ton of compliments for Will. If y'all remember anything about Will, let him know in the comments. I'm sure he appreciates
y'all are so much
remembering the legacy
now than you were about 10 years ago, but I appreciate it. Thank you for giving me the chance to come back around. Tremaine, I love the Abbey with the fully cornrowed George Bush. That's what's up.
Right in time for 20 years.
I see a good comment over here, though. Did LSU call a single screen pass? Yeah, they did. And you know what happened? The 6'7" tight end decided that he didn't want to stick his hand up in the air, and it got picked off. That's another thing that pisses me off. If you're 6'7", you shouldn't be scared of anybody. Great. Did you see the UCLA tight end? What'd he do? Oh, juked 2 D-backs and ran over a linebacker to get his 75 yards. Where's our guy?
Grown man.
Yeah, he wasn't going to be stopped. We need him on our team. And that's the thing. Whenever that play happened, you were kind of like, that's not good. It didn't look good. Of course, the guy's not a world beater. He's not out here juking people's socks off. He just made a little move, made a guy miss, runs over another guy. It's embarrassing. What are you doing?
Yeah, a lot of guys commenting on that quarterback situation. And, you know, I think ultimately me and you are of agreement that it doesn't really matter if you're complaining about the quarterback, because I don't think you're going to get better this year than Max Johnson. I think if you just let him do his thing, he'll just develop and get better. And that's your best option. You don't have a magic guy sitting there.
Well, we're trying to figure out what variable is wrong in this equation, right? So we're having to throw a few things out, change it up. Why are we going to mess with the one constant that we have, right? And next, yeah, he probably finished about 55% completion percentage, threw a pick.
Yeah.
Had what, 2 touchdowns or 3?
3. He had 3
3
touchdowns. All to
touchdowns.
Butte. Johnson to
What if I
Butte.
would have said 5 years ago that that's going to be a stat line for LSU quarterback? You'd be like, 45 times? Yeah,
No,
right.
Will,
Ran through the ball 45
any,
times? Really?
on any of your teams. I mean, I'm literally thinking, I'm trying to think like 08, 09, 2010, 2011. That's right?
I don't even
Any of those teams,
I
you give
don't
me a
even think
300-yard
Mettenberger threw
passer.
it that many times.
What's that?
So I don't even think Mettenberger threw it that many times. He might have gotten 20 passes in a game would have been good for him.
He
might have had a
had
couple of 40s.
close to 300 a couple times.
Yeah.
But what I noticed is they were all losses, like Alabama in 2012. Okay.
Yep.
And then you had
Georgia, the Georgia game when he and Aaron
Georgia
Murray
game.
back and forth.
What a good game, man. What a great game that was. I always look at that one. I kind of have to like,
I know. I wish
they got us, but
it would have been very good for him, I think.
for Zach.
Yeah, for Zach, just personally, be a little bit of redemption for him, but
Yeah. And you know, I wanted to address your comment about the screen, and they did run one screen and it went god awful. And I think that's probably some insight to why they didn't keep on doing it. Do you think they should have tried like a wide receiver bubble screen or any kind of screen that gets your offensive linemen moving? Because it was almost like those defensive linemen just pushed off their back heels and we're going straight. We're out manning LSU. And, you know, when you're not as physical, you got to do something to get them off guard.
Yeah.
I mean, should they have done more screens?
I think. See, sorry for the. I'm trying to gather my thoughts. The old cliche is that you gotta run the ball to set up the pass, right? Well, it's kind of really the opposite nowadays. You know, you got to be able to pass to set up the run. And in the beginning, it looked good. I mean, we had a good first drive. We're marching down the field, passing the ball a little bit, fairly balanced. And then we get into this. Then UCLA gets the ball, and they go down and they score. And we're like, okay, this is going to be a little bit of a game.
Right.
So I think we got into this. Hey, we got to get out ahead. We got to get the ball. We got to get this up tempo. Yada yada yada. We got to be fast. And then they started getting behind, and then you got to catch up, and you got to keep passing the ball, and you got to keep passing the ball. I don't think there was enough balance, you know. And then you know when you can't run the ball or when you can't pass the ball, you can't run the ball. So you get down to the 3rd and 2, and you're faced with a decision. Hey, do we hand it off to this guy or do we throw a little out route? You don't know what to do. You have no identity. And that's the ultimate problem is that they never seemed to get into a groove. They didn't have any kind of backup plan. And then just from there, they played catch up the whole time.
Yeah.
It's never a good position to be in.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think that the debut on the offense was certainly frustrating. Did you have any thoughts about that defense you saw out there? Because I think that was kind of where the magnifying glass was. It's moved, but what'd you think?
Talk about the defense now. I am extremely disappointed in the front seven. I was led to believe that this defensive line was, going to be back, tuned up, ready to go.
Yeah.
The linebackers, Baskerville made one big play in the beginning, and then I don't think they passed off a crossing route the entire game. Now, it is a little bit of a new scheme. It's a road game. You got a lot going on. There's a lot to communicate on defense. But, again, I don't see that mentality. I don't see I don't even know who the other linebackers are. I didn't spend time watching. Smalls played a lot.
Well, Smalls
those guys, right. I don't see these guys making a big play and celebrating. I don't see Stingley out there barking at guys saying, hey, get it together. I'm locking this dude down. Where are the rest of y'all? It's just – it feels very lazy and like almost like self-loathing to the point where they're like, oh, man, we suck. We can't cover anybody. And they just let this guy get 30 yards. Oh man,
Yeah.
I did that again. Not like, hey, I ain't putting up with this. Not gonna happen
Yeah.
again. This dude's not running over me. And that's more of a coaching like mentality
Yeah.
to me.
I agree. Now, there was somebody who pointed out the missed tackle that Stingley had late in that game. One of the handful of catches that receivers actually made. Are you and me of agreement that the DBs played a pretty good game?
Yeah, I think Ricks and Stingley played well. Stingley made one good play in the run game, which you got to be a little bit tougher on our corners. I don't think really UCLA really exploited the corner too bad. Of course, anytime you got two guys on defense that are playing cornerback and you don't hear their name, then that's a good thing, right?
Right,
Like
I agree.
Unless they're intercepting the ball. Of course, Rick's had the pick, which we kind of come to expect that. But
yeah,
they're again, they are the equivalent of Max Johnson on offense, right? Like we don't really need to talk about changing anything with them. They're doing okay. If they give up 2 passes a game, like that's great. We'll take that.
Yeah.
We can't do anything if our front seven can't stop anybody.
And that's a problem. I agree 100%. I think a lot of people are wondering about who? Mike Jones right now. I mean, because there was a lot of hype. A lot of people talking about him being a second-round draft pick. Where was he? I mean, it's like these transfers. A lot of times you really kind of roll in the die because sometimes you get Joe Burrow, sometimes you get Jonathan Giles. You know what I mean?
And I think it's one of those things where 95% of the time you're getting Jonathan Giles. It just is what it is.
I mean, that's the honest truth.
If Mike Jones is really that good, why would he leave Clemson?
I don't know. There's always 1,000 reasons, but I think LSU's lost a couple guys that were pretty good because of some back office compliance reasons. So you never know.
But I mean how many of those? I guess only really one of those guys has ever gone on to have a decent. Who was it that went to Kentucky? Defensive back.
Well, there's 2 at Kentucky now. The defensive back, safety, blah 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 blah. Someone comment that safety in because he was pretty good out of Scotlandville. It's gonna kill me.
Yes, I know, me too. But anyway,
Rosenthal.
I guess Rosenthal is he gonna play? Or
he should eventually. He should.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about this year, but look, I want you to give me my back real quick because our site owner Mike Scarborough loves putting out these millennial and their beard comments. Man, can you?
Oh, is this from Mike right here?
That's Mike Scarborough, right? Will you tell him a beard is basically a push-up bra for guys?
I don't know if I want to agree to that. I don't know if I like that. No, look, anytime somebody mentions millennials with beards, they're just kind of jealous because they're not as comfortable or as close with their generation. I think a lot of the guys, big guys like us, we just kind of there's an unwritten agreement, right? We're like, hey, dude, let's all have beards. That way, we all kind of, we all look nice. We all look the same. We're part of this millennial culture, so let's grow it out.
Absolutely, I feel that on a spiritual level.
Exactly. Yeah. Sorry you're not in our generation, Mike. We'll get you next time.
Sorry you had to miss out on the greatest generation on earth, Mike, but it is what it is. Josh Forbes saying DB's got burnt bad. Hey guys, I'm gonna let Will go here in just a bit. If you have any last questions for him, let him know. If you have any fun memories of him playing, you want to tell him about.
Kelvin Joseph. Gosh, thank you.
Kelvin Joseph. I know.
Thank you, Marcus.
Hey, he'd probably be playing. Hey, did you see that hit on Jay Ward? I got really upset, but I feel like nobody's talking about it. Did you know what I'm talking about?
No, actually, I didn't. Was it a late hit or?
Well, so remember the NFL a couple years ago made a big deal about leading with the crown of your helmet going into play. It was exactly that. It was using his crown of his helmet as a battering ram. He got hit, and I saw the look. That look, where it's kind of, that concussion vibe that
seeing stars, kind of like,
where am I? What just happened? I saw that in his face, and I really hope Jay Ward's okay because he was playing well. And then, of course, they had to, go into their back pocket. Josh Forbes, of course, with a great example of a transfer guy, Paraloo. Man, how good would those teams have been with Paraloo? Paraloo thinks national championship.
I mean, he did not play all season and then come in and win the SEC MVP. So,
I mean, really,
Ryan Paraloo had a tremendous amount of talent. I think, yes, we probably Well, I don't know about national championship, but 2008 and 9, and even probably 10 after that would have had a little bit of different endings, I believe.
Yeah. Okay. And look, this last comment I'm gonna give to Will. I'm gonna let him go. He's got a life, family, all that good stuff going on now. But you think play calls coming in late? I don't think so. But what do you think?
I don't know if it really. I mean, it is annoying, right? Like you're sitting there in your stance, and you're like, "So what?" All right, everybody looks over the sideline, especially as a center and a guard, because you can't,
Yeah.
you can't move. You're set once you got your hand on the ground. You're like, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right, go. So yeah, it is a little bit, especially like later in a drive or later in a game when you're tired and you just want to run the play.
Yeah.
That to me is a different issue, right? It's um, either Max and the offensive linemen don't fully understand the scheme, or the coaches aren't really sure what the other team wants to do.
Yeah.
Either situation is a little unnerving to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't look crisp. It's not efficient. It just looks bad. It looks sloppy. I think that's really the main issue with getting the plays in late.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. Will, I really want to thank you for coming on tonight. My sponsor, Mike Tramonte, was really excited. He said, "Oh yeah, Will, he used to come into the shop all the time."
If you go to Tremonti's and get the ribeye po' boy, I might call it the ribeye sandwich, but
yeah, I had it on Saturday.
We used to go there. Stephen Ridley, Josh Jurassic, and I used to go there either every Wednesday or Thursday for lunch. Go check them out. Shout out to Tremonti's. It's awesome
it's
sandwich.
So good.
I'm telling you, it's the best ribeye sandwich you can get in Baton Rouge.
I'm right there with you. That's one of the cool things I love about having a sponsor is it's legit. It's legit.
It really is. And they got all kind of other specialty stuff. So go check them out.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you for coming on. Will, tell them where they can follow you, if anywhere.
Man, just follow me, I guess, on Twitter. WillieB60. Here interacting, just try not to be too sad about this loss. I know that it sucks. I think one of two things are going to happen, right? We're either going to get on the train and say, hey, we got to turn this thing around, or we're going to crumble and we'll have a bad season. But, I think it's probably going to be the former. I expect to see some crisp, efficient football this weekend.
You think they bounce back?
Yeah, I think they do. They have no choice. Max, again, I know I keep harping on Max Johnson, but I really like the kid. I think he's got some skills. Maybe he's not entirely comfortable in the leadership role yet, but I think we'll see whether or not he's really truly our guy after this week.
All right, so let me put you on the spot. 7.5 wins, less or more than 7.5 wins?
I guess 7's less than 7.5, right?
Yes.
I would say we have a chance to go 8-4, and if we finish 8-4, we should probably be okay with that.
Good stuff, Will. Thanks for joining us.
Anytime, Preston. Thanks, man. That was fun.
Will. You have a great
night. We'll be back, man. See y'all.
Will do. At WillieB60, if you want to follow him for some really good takes. Will is just a guy who I admire for just telling it like it is all the time. Appreciate him for stopping by. Now we're going to continue talking. LSU's loss to UCLA. We're going to continue talking about impact for the program and stuff. I really appreciate Will Blackwell for stopping in, especially on short notice. We decided we really needed a former player to come talk about pride of the program, and that's exactly what he brought in, and he just does it so honestly. So y'all let me know if you have any questions. I'll take this in a variety of directions. I have some talking points I would love to get to, but I mean, this is one of those kind of defining moments for LSU. It's one of those things where a lot of people have been talking about. If things do indeed go south for Coach Orgeron and his tenure, I think a lot of people go back and look at this as the beginning of the end. I've heard that a lot. But before I keep on going, I want to thank our sponsor tonight, Tramonte's Seafood and Meat. Like Will was just telling you, it really is good stuff, y'all. I'm not making it up. I mean, if you don't stop by Tramonte's sometime this football season, you're missing out. You will impress all your friends with it. I promise you. If you're not, send me all the Twitter and hate mail you can, because I promise you'll be impressed. Tramonte's Seafood is your tailgating and homegaiting headquarters for the 2021 season. They are home of the ribeye roll, which is outstanding. I mean, it's so good, y'all. It's ribeye wrapped in cream cheese, jalapenos, and bacon. You throw it on the grill, and dude, I've never had anything that tastes better. I promise you. They have Chairman's Reserve Wagyu beef. So if you're looking for that real top end meat, there you go. 30 kinds of sausage. 30. So whatever kind of sausage you want, he's probably got it. They do lunch delis until about 3 o'clock every day. So come in if you want that burger, or like Will was talking about, the ribeye, come get it. They are open 9 to 5 on Saturday. If you want to come by, get it for food. They do catering, lunch deli. They are located on Old Jefferson, right up the road from Parkview Baptist. Give them a look. Tramontes.com, 225-757-7665. Go give them a look today. All right, let's get to your questions. Brian Thomas looks like a DK Metcalf clone. He is big and he's going to be good. I get the vibe that right now it is an all-out battle for that number 2 receiver spot. I think, I mean, it looked like I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his Trey Palmer was getting the second most targets, but man, he's very athletic but cannot get his hands on the ball. I think Jack Besh is a guy I'd like to see. He looked really good for one play and then stopped. I mean, there's a lot of things that looked really good at first and then they just kind of went away from them, and you kind of wonder what the heck happened. Mason Smith being one. He looked really good, and then I really didn't see him very much. If we can't hold time to under 21 points, it's had to. I don't exactly know what you mean there. Josh Forbes. Okay, I was wondering if anybody was curious about McNeese State. Because I think maybe if LSU had won that game, we'd be talking about a few of these fun storylines, but it's just gotten completely buried. QB for McNeese State is Ed Ogeron's son. That is a very fun dynamic. How does Coach O handle it? Does he text his son this week? I don't know. It just depends on how you handle that. I'm sure he will talk to his son this week, but they are both preparing to win that game, of course. And I don't think anybody here is expecting McNeese State, even though they got a good coach, Frank Wilson, former LSU running back coach, recruiting coordinator, great guy. I don't think anybody quite expects them to come in and pull that upset. So, of course, we have been talking more and more about LSU. Now, I do want to touch point real quick on Trey Bradford, because tonight our sources confirm Trey Bradford will rejoin LSU's team and be immediately eligible, which seeing that game was a huge, huge deal. I mean, I can't oversell this enough what a big deal it is. It is a massive deal to have Trey Bradford on this team. He is a body who can play high quality football, and they were lacking that with so many guys out. You really need to get John Emery Jr. back. You really need to get some more guys back. And Trey Bradford being immediately eligible, of course, offensive line, it does not fix. However, it does fix, having depth at running back, and maybe he can run a screen. I think he's a little more agile than Tyrion Davis Price. So we'll see. I think offensively, play calling wise, I mean, everybody had eyes on the coordinator, but that got kind of overlooked because the offensive line just played so bad itself, and there's so many criticisms in the defense. Play calling wise, offense, okay, you needed to do something to get those guys off their heels. They white knuckled it. Remember the Titans, okay? You lean forward, your knuckles turn white. That's what those guys were doing all game long. And when you are the bigger, badder man, and you're winning that matchup, you got to do something. Give them something to win. Quick passes, bubble screens, counter Trey. You got to throw them off kill. If they can predict you, and if you're telegraphing what's going to happen, they'll eat you alive. Tim Benson, what's going on with John Emery? It's a great question, man. It's academic related, and he's week to week trying to get him back. So, but that's why bringing Trey Bradford back is just so colossally big. A lot of people looking for Corey Kiner. What's the deal with Corey Kiner? Who knows? But a lot of true freshmen aren't ready for the big game. Game one, maybe they're trying to protect him. Maybe who knows? There's a lot of things that could be going on. Of course, Armani Goodwin is out with an injury, the other true freshman. So, it's just that running back spot is Tyrion Davis-Price and not very many other people. But of course, I mean, Tyrion Davis-Price has been serviceable throughout his career. He's been a guy. It's just, how does he break open? How can you run the ball? Someone mentioned earlier, let's see if I can find this comment. It looked like Fournette against Bama in 2015. And I have not seen a game that really is more reminiscent of that game since this. Because, yeah, that's right. It doesn't matter what the running. You have no clue how good that running back is, because unless he's throwing dudes off after his second or third step, not very many running backs can do that, by the way. Unless he's just doing that, you can't do anything when you're getting touched behind the line of scrimmage, which on average is what happened. That's unbelievable. Palmer had a lot of drops, including 2 potential TDs. Exactly right, Josh. Two potential TDs. And of course, Kashawn Butte had one, but he more than made up for that. Savion Jones should be in the rotation. They left Palmer uncovered the whole time. Yeah, but I think Palmer needed to reel in a few more of those balls. Let's see. How does his son handle the bug whipping? Does the defense punish Ed via his son? I don't think we see anything mean. I don't think we see anything ultra aggressive. I think they're just going to call a game as if his son wasn't there. That's what we should expect. How does his son handle the butt whipping? Well, probably by texting, "Hey Dad, that wasn't very nice." Let's see. Coach says he texts his son several times a day, and that each one is going to play to win, and that's how you should do this. I mean, don't back away from being a father. Just because you're coaching a team, you're a father first. I think everybody would credit O for texting his son. The offense is made for a player like Emory. I tend to agree with you, Lamar. I don't think Tyrion Davis-Price is a standard, spread offense running back. I think he's more of a typical, almost like a power eye kind of Charles Scott mold. So I think that's been an issue for sure. Smoke and bubble screens would have. That's what I'm saying, man. I mean, we saw one and it was an interception, but how many? I mean, that's just foolish to me to just abandon it because of one bad play. You got to keep on doing it just to keep them off their heels. Let's see. John Emery, I hope he wasn't out for academic ineligible. He cannot be on the sideline. NCAA violation. Well, I'm not sure he was on the sideline, and all I can tell you is it's academic related. That's all they'll tell us. So let's see here. Palmer, Taylor, Ingram need to see the game from the bench this week. I don't like criticizing guys directly like that as amateur athletes. I can tell you Palmer will I think all those guys will play. Let's see here. It's hard to win a game when you can't hold the team to less than 21 points. It all starts with defense. All right. Thank you for clarifying, because I tried to read your comment earlier and it was a little disconnect for me. I disagree. And I love your comment, but I do disagree, because LSU's defense in 2018 and 2019 gave up more than 21 points per game. Now, 10 years ago, you're nailing it on the head. Defense wins championships. However, football has just changed. I think that with social media and the internet, a lot of coaches are able to learn more and more about these new spread systems and how to run them, how to incorporate them, and they can connect with other people. And it's now in the high school and junior high ranks where these quarterbacks are taught that. I think the days of winning games 10-3, like Georgia did, those are going to be rare occasions. Now, defense did make a little bit of a comeback this year as a whole, because COVID defenses were just putrid last year, but they made a little bit of a comeback. But no, you should win games giving up 21 points per game. LSU went 15-0, giving up 22 points per game. I mean, but they gave up 38 against UCLA. You know what I mean? So, I think that, y'all, I wish there was just one issue. And I think that's why people are so upset, because they want to point to one issue. And the fact of the matter is, the highlights were your quarterback play and your DB play. and those weren't the you can criticize. There's plenty of room to criticize both of those. And everything else was pretty darn bad. You can go check out the letter grades at TigerBait.com. It's not a it's a rough scene. It's a real rough scenes. One of his sons steals the playbook. Josh, you first off, you're really excited about this Ogeron v Ogeron little angle here. Josh, I think, God, I really don't want to disrespect the McNeese and Frank Wilson program because, I mean, it's a good program and those dudes will mop the floor with any one of us, I assure you. But I do think you could tell McNeese State the plays that they're going to run before they're going to run them, and LSU should still win. How much? I don't know, but I don't think that matters. Let's see here. Best ability is availability. He's not going to be there. 100% Daryl. And you know what's sad is in my pregame show, I was looking at it, and I said, man, this is the cleanest injury list preseason I've seen ever. Well, turns out it wasn't. It turns out that was a bit of a hogwash. Because I was like, okay, so really this offseason, all you really lost was Dare Rosenthal and Miles Brennan. And other than that, you've had a pretty clean offseason. You should be pretty good. Well, that wasn't the case. A lot of guys didn't play, and I think there's probably more things that we have yet to hear. So we shall see. Palmer didn't even do bad. I thought Palmer, he just needs to catch the ball. He's got athleticism. He reminds me like an Odell Beckham type athleticism, but you got to catch that ball. He does not have the hands of Odell, not yet. And that might be why, despite being such a versatile athlete, why we haven't seen him hit the field as much. I do love Trey Palmer returning punts. Just we haven't seen it in a game, but I suspect that muffing punts has probably been an issue why they've gone with Stingley last 2 years. They aren't amateur athletes anymore. Good comment, Stephen Dunn. I've always held a policy, and this kind of started, I guess it started when I was at LSU's SID, being their PR guy. Of course, I'm not going to make a negative comment about a guy, but when I used to cover high school games for the Advocate, seeing these kids, these teenagers just go through such high levels of criticism, and the standard changes them a little as each level you go on. I'll give a little bit more harsh, but the line between professional and amateur is more grayer than ever. I might have to adjust my policy according. Alabama's quarterback Bryce Young's making he's already made more than $1 million from endorsements. Maybe I torched that son of a bitch. I don't know. We'll see. But generally speaking, I don't think it's very kosher for any media professional to truly single out and ostracize an amateur athlete, and that line gets blurred. And sometimes, of course, you have to give some criticism to guys, but I just don't like roasting guys directly. Emory was on the sideline. My son couldn't be there for the 2000 Natty because of that ruling. Daryl Adams. Let's see. Adams. 2004 Adams. No, it wouldn't be Ken Adams. I don't know. Interested. Who's your son, Daryl? Let's see. Max was waiting for a receiver to get open instead of throwing them open. I disagree, Lamar. I disagree because I saw, and this is something a lot of people who know quarterbacks were very impressed with Max Johnson. His telegraphing of throws. He would throw them open. Like against Florida, there was a throw in the back of the end zone where he knew his player was going to outrun the DB in the corner and just boom, nailed it. I think he did that in the corner of the end zone with Kashawn Butte again. I think he's got really good ball placement when he has time and his feet are on the ground. I do not think that I think he throws guys open. I just think he's a little stiff. Me and Mike were talking about it. It's like he's a millisecond off on timing and a millisecond off, or a millimeter off, whatever you want to say, on his accuracy when he does have time. Let's see here. Palmer played good. Yeah, well, I mean, he got to open a bunch, but he probably needs to show better hands. I hope UCLA is a better team than people in the country know. Now, Daryl Adams, another great comment from Mr. Adams here. Still interested to see who your son is. Comment who your son is, because I'm curious. I'm trying to think of an Adams from 2004. But anyways, so this was my take after the Mississippi State game last year. I thought LSU was going to be a pretty good team last year, and then Mississippi State came in and shellacked them. But I think that we now know, because the team looked so similar to last year, that this ain't UCLA being that good. I think they'll win 8-9 games in the Pac-12. I think in the SEC they're a 500 team, but I don't think it was about UCLA being the team. And the standard of this LSU team is you want them competing for the playoffs. No matter who the team is, you want them to compete. Do you think that UCLA team was playoff good? I mean, they could be. And that's the hope for LSU fans, is that UCLA team is just about to get hot. Turns out that's a playoff team, and LSU is about to go 11-1, 10-2, something like that, because they're they coming. You know what I mean? What happened to Von Rosenberg? Zach Von Rosenberg, the punter, 30-year-old punter. My dude, love Zach. I had him on the show last year. Zach told me, for the NFL, it's now or never. And he took a shot, and I don't blame him for that, because you got your championship, you're old enough, but if you want an NFL career, go get it. He's still pursuing that NFL career, and I wish him the absolute best pursuing it. Let's see. Why was Jack Bech not utilized more? Kristen, I don't have an answer for that one, because he's very good and very athletic and does have good hands. All I can tell you is sometimes it's tough to break in a true freshman. You know what I mean? It's just sometimes it's not easy. That's all I can think of, because we watched Jack Bech a number of times playing at St. Thomas More last year, and of course here's Michael Porter agreeing with you. And the dude is a stud. A lot of people, like, I did some podcasts with other teams, and like, oh yeah, you offered Jack Bech because you wanted the 5-star Walker Howard. And hell no, you didn't offer. That dude was a beast, best receiver in the state last year. I mean, he was really good, really good. And in fact, Walker Howard now, he's obviously an incredible quarterback, number one quarterback in the country, but he's having a little bit of trouble getting receivers to consistently catch the ball. So we see the impact he had. Let's see. Tony Williams says, the athletes are still amateur. Thank you, Tony. Hey, are college athletes amateurs? Yes or no? Tell me in the comments. Let's see. Dustin was weak side linebacker. He played special teams. So Dustin Adams. You know what? Thanks for sending your son to LSU, Daryl, and thank you for watching our show. Really appreciate you. Michael Porter, he definitely looked good, better than Cole Taylor for sure. Now, we're comparing Jack Bech to Cole Taylor here, but I'm not sure Jack Bech is going to play tight end. From what I'm understanding, they're looking at him as slot receiver. So I don't think he's got the meat on him to truly play. He's a meaty receiver, but I think we're looking at him as like a Wes Welker type. I think that's what he should be. Let's see here. Christian Coleman, Cole Taylor is a liability in my opinion. Cannot run, passing threat, can barely block. He's just too big. I'm not sure how much. I'd have to go back and watch. I don't want to comment on Cole Taylor yet, because there's just so many other things that were glaring issues. They did take out Cole Taylor a good bit to put Garrett Dellinger in the game as an ineligible tight end. Okay. And that stood out to me because they were really trying to establish a run. Guys, that does bring up a good point to me, thinking of Garrett Dellinger, because on TigerBait.com, my fellow staff writer, Brian Lazar, did a really good piece breaking down offensive line recruiting. And on the surface, I've looked at every recruiting class as a whole and been like, man, that's a good recruiting class. There are some dudes in that class. And, every single time I looked at offensive line, I'm like, yeah, there's a guy. Oh, yeah, there's a guy. And look, maybe they see something out of him. They're recruiting more position oriented, because one thing that I noticed in offensive line recruiting, They were taking a lot of 3-star type guys then. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, he's more of a true offensive tackle. He's more of a true center. They're going for, less of this Les Miles approach where you've got 5 guards playing offensive line and more of true tailored approach. However, let me go through this breakdown. 2017, Coach O's first class. Austin Deculus. All right, stud. You know what I mean? Ed Ingram, another big guy. You know what I mean? And Austin Deculus was a huge recruit. Sadiq Charles, 4-star guy, a little lower down the ranks, but of course Sadiq Charles turned out to be your left tackle playing in the NFL now. I mean, that's a good class. Okay, that's 3 guys, right? 2018, you get Cole Smith, 3-star recruit. Okay, well, he's a center. Maybe, nope, not even on the team anymore. Cam Wire, who's your left tackle now. I'll let y'all determine. He played at EA. He was not so highly recruited, but of course, I looked at him as a true left tackle. Maybe he develops into a good player, but at least you got a starter there. I mean, so in 2018, regardless, you only get 1 player who even plays for LSU. And I think signing 2 offensive linemen is kind of a problem. 2019, Cardell Thomas, number 4 guard in the country. I mean, stud. I thought he should have been 5 stars, but he just hasn't panned out yet. We don't know exactly what's going on there. But you get Anthony Bradford, who's now playing. But then you get Ray Parker, Charles Turner, Thomas Perry. Ray Parker, Thomas Perry, both gone already. Charles Turner, he's working his way in. He was supposed to play center. We saw him play left tackle last night. We'll see what happens with him in his career. So you get 5 guys there, but 2 of them you miss on. Okay. And quite frankly, a few of these guys weren't the highest recruits in the country. 2020, Marcus Dumerville, hadn't seen him play yet. Marlon Martinez, 3-star guy, not so big. Hadn't seen him play that. Xavier Hill, hadn't seen him yet. And then in 2021, of course, you get Dellinger and you get Kimo Makele, one of those weird Hawaiian names. I will butcher it for the rest of my career. And Garrett Dellinger played a little bit. I mean, look, time to face the facts here. I didn't want to go through this entire breakdown with Will there, and you hate to look at this angle of, the guys just aren't. You need to improve your offensive line recruiting. In my opinion, I've always thought you get 25 spots per recruiting class. You should be able to field a football team every single year. And as guys weed out, you know what I mean? Cool. It should reflect relatively evenly. Eventually, I think you need 1 quarterback every single year. I think you need 5 offensive linemen every single year, 4 defensive linemen, 3 linebackers, 4 defensive backs, or 5 defensive backs. I think you need 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, some variety of mix. You should be able to field some formations, and then of course you get 3 extra spots to kind of play around with as you need spots, or there's an uber talented guy. Y'all, offensive line recruiting, it ain't cutting it. I mean, and which one of those recruiting classes do you see where it's like, man, that's a top 5 offensive line class? None of them. None of them's the answer. I mean, you got to improve offensive line recruiting. Of course, only 3 of those guys hail from Louisiana, which we all know you recruit Louisiana first. But I just don't, I mean, you got to go national. You are LSU. And of course, they're doing some things here. Of course, we have Will Campbell for 2022 coming in alongside Walker Howard as 5-star guys for that class. And there's tons. I've been talking to some coaches and scouting guys. There's more talent in Louisiana for 2022 and 2023 than I have seen ever in back-to-back class. I mean, we talked about 2011, we've talked about 2014, 2001 is a class that stands out, maybe better, but not back-to-back, because 2000 and 2002 don't even, they aren't anywhere close to that. But I've never seen as much talent as we have the last couple of years. Lamar Williams, LSU will go 10-2. That might be the most positive we've seen tonight. How many points does LSU allow against McNeese? I'm saying 21. Man, Josh, and your commitment to this McNeese State game. For what it's worth, Brock Heward says LSU, that he thought LSU was in trouble when he watched the 2 teams practice. UCLA was extremely healthy and practiced much faster than LSU. Look, Phil, I don't buy that, because the eye test, LSU should beat them by a lot. I mean, now there's a few guys for UCLA who are absolute dudes who play with heart. They did out physical LSU, but I mean, LSU has much, much more talent across the board than UCLA. I don't know. That doesn't sit well with me. Let's see here. Yeah, slot receiver would be better for Best. She doesn't have the build for blocking tight end. I agree, and I think most people do agree. Let's see here. Cole Taylor be a red zone threat. You can't reach 6'7". Yeah, he should be a red zone threat. I agree. That's a great way. Hey guys, we are going to wrap up the show here in a bit. So look, any comments that come in, let's see, what time is it? 9:35. Get your comment in before 9:40 and I'll get to it. Okay. I promise I'm getting to anybody who gets it in before 9:40. Actually, I'm seeing comments coming in showing 9:40. So maybe there's some time just 9:45. If your comment says 9:45, I will get to it. I promise. Get them in here. But before I keep on going, I want to thank my sponsor tonight, Mike Tramonte, Tramonte's Meat and Seafood. They are your headquarters for the 2021 season for tailgating, homegaiting. Give them a try. They have their home of the ribeye roll, which is the best piece of meat you can throw on your grill. Cream cheese wrapped around a nice piece of ribeye, marbled ribeye, high quality stuff with jalapeno and bacon. It is so good. They have Chairman's Reserve Wagyu beef, which is the top of the line. Remember, good meat ain't cheap and cheap meat ain't good. That is how Tramonte's rolls, y'all. 30 kinds of sausage. So, I mean, any kind of sausage, venison sausage. I mean, I don't know 30 types of sausage. So any kind of sausage I would ask for would be there for sure. You heard Will Blackwell telling you, I'm not BSing you here. It's good stuff. It's so legit. He would go once a week. Ribeye po' boy. I had it on Saturday. He had it once a week. It's amazing. Y'all go get it because they do have a lunch deli available till 3:00. They do catering if you're looking for, whatever needs for whatever event you've got. Tailgating included. Fantasy football draft, maybe people push it back to Wednesday. I did mine on Monday. No, come get it. They are your home for the 2021 season tailgating and homegaiting headquarters. They are open on Saturday and they are open 9 to 5. Okay. They are located on Old Jefferson, right up the road from Parkview Baptist. You can go to tremontes.com to learn more or give them a call, 225-757-7665. All right. Blitz of comments. Let's see here. I think they also should use Brian Thomas. He gives me more some Terrace Marshall. That's a good comparison, man. That's a really good comparison. We'll see. It's tough to break in true freshmen. I'm expecting, just like we saw Kashawn Butte last year, a bunch of those true freshman guys to get breaking in throughout the year. But ultimately, we'll see a lot of rotation because they've got so many guys. Where's Jonte Kirkenglow? Are you giving him away? Let's see here. Can Lee bulk up for tight end? Daryl Adams, great comment. He probably should bulk up. Let's see here. Turner did not play bad. He did not play terribly. I'll agree, especially for being thrown in there out of position, whatever. I thought he was good. But we'll see because he hasn't cracked a starting spot yet. Maybe we'll see. Like I said, I hate to be too critical of guys because those guys can make you look dumb a couple years down the road, and I hope. I love it when players make me look dumb. All right, let's see here. They moved him to every position except center. Yeah, it's funny. The guy you recruited directly to play center playing everything but center. You're right. Balama gets the trench guys. Yeah, you got it. You got to improve the trench. Have we ever had a top O-line class? Great question, Lamar. I don't have the answer for you. I don't think they have. I really think in the history of the recruiting rankings, I cannot think of one. I do know that like back in 06, 07, those years, we're talking about guys like Will Blackwell, T-Bob Hebert, all those guys. There were definitely much more of them and much more of them panning out, and they were much bigger. Herman Johnson comes to mind. Number one in the country. I don't know, because LSU really hasn't produced very many NFL offensive linemen. They've been few and far between. There's been a Layout Collins every once in a while, Herman Johnson, who got a cup of tea in the NFL. But, I mean, LSU has not been a factory for NFL offensive linemen. Let's see here. Defense looks like a Chinese fire drill. Entirely too many major breakdowns on the back end. Dave Amanda could adjust as the game went on. The last two defensive teams looked lost. I agree. And look, Lenny, I think we're learning that Dave Aranda was the ultimate unappreciated coach, the unsung hero of that championship team. I think people are learning. Me and Mike looked at it like, do you think Dave Aranda's a good coach? And I was like, yeah, I thought he was pretty darn good. He's like, yeah, I think he was a great coach, Mike said. I think we're starting to learn that his defense is giving up 21 and 22 points per game was not a result of him being a poor coordinator, but more the result of college football moving in a direction where it's just impossible to play stonewall defense because sometimes, Ole Miss has, third string quarterback John Rice Plumlee, who's just a freak of nature. Let's see. I'm just messing with you. Gotta laugh. Yeah, Josh, thanks for all the great comments. I love it when guys just tune into the show and start trolling me and funny comments. Guys, I try not to take myself too seriously, so don't take me seriously. Mess with me if you can. Let's see. I hope LSU rights this ship. I think they can. We'll see. What I saw was a not great. The signature trait. I'm glad we still have a ton of people watching. Appreciate y'all for sticking around through Will Blackwell and all that good stuff. The signature trait of an Ed Orgeron team. Every single team, he does not quit. He refuses to quit on any team. Almost all of his teams have an ugly loss. I remember before the 2019 season, I said every other Orgeron team has been inconsistent and lost a game they shouldn't have. But after losing that, he gets his team's head back in the game and they shock the hell out of you. I will guarantee you one thing, this Ed Orgeron team, it might not be next week, might not be the week after, might not be. If Ed Orgeron's the coach for this team, eventually they will pop back and surprise you because that's his signature trait. He motivates guys. He gets guys ready to play. He does not quit on his teams ever. When they lost to Troy, the very next week, they went on the road and beat Florida. Okay. He went in a big slump. That was the worst slump in LSU football I've ever seen. I promise you, this team will beat somebody they're not expected to beat. Classy Oz just win. Thanks, Osmond. Let's see here. Thanks for your cast. I was late, but I do enjoy them. I'll go back and listen to my misses. Look, maybe I need to do the same here in just a bit, Daryl, before I get in trouble with my misses. But that's okay. She enjoys that I get to do this. On Saturdays, she gets to have her whole Saturday to do all her shopping with my credit card. So appreciate you, Mike, for giving the Mrs. Guy some space to do that. And of course, guys, if y'all are interested, please hit the ring. Please hit the subscribe. We have plenty of good shows. Mike will be going live every Wednesday throughout football season. We have our post-game show we'll be doing throughout this magnificent season we'll be having this year. And I do every Tuesday. We're doing the Power Hour with Preston. What do y'all think about that name? I thought it had a nice little ring. We're going to differentiate it a little bit. The Power Hour of Preston, presented by Tramonte's Meat and Seafood. Good ring to it, doesn't it? Just want to Coach O to get back to coach the block the noise. Block the noise. Yeah, absolutely. Block the noise. Focus on what you can focus on. Go win some games. Let's see. On Friday, I broke my leg and tore ligaments in my knee and ankle. Saturday is more painful. LOL. Namaste. Well, Daryl, I hope you have a great recovery from that. I'm very sorry to hear that. It's been a rough week for a lot of people across the state. You who? Carl, who? Mike Jones. I told Mike Scarborough that. I keep on cracking the jokes. He does not get it. Who? Mike Jones. All right, give us Mike Jones. He should have covered that tight end. Look, here's the deal. A lot of people talking about Mike Jones. Will Blackwell said 95% of transfers are more in the Jonathan Giles category, less in the Mike Jones category. And of course, Jonathan Giles is now playing at Texas State and having trouble getting on the field. It's tough. All right, Osmond, Will Clapp was pretty. Osmond, y'all, is a friend of mine. He played for Jesuit, state champion of Jesuit, first state champion in 40 years. He, of course, played with Foster Morrow, and he played against Will Clapp at Brother Martin. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Will Clapp ate his lunch because Will Clapp was left tackle and Osmond was defensive end. So he's talking about him pretty. Will Clapp was a good player. Problem is you need 5 Will Clapps, and you really need 5 Will Clapps every year. I'm not saying you need first-round draft picks across the board like Alabama has, but you got to do better in the trenches. I'm not sure I see too many NFL players on this team, and certainly not first 3-round draft picks. Let's see here. Always appreciated Dave. Absolutely. Guys, people who criticize dudes like Dave Aranda, I mean, come on, man. The dude was really a great coach. LSU beats Alabama third year. I'm gonna assume that doesn't mean this year. Maybe that's a typo for third year, 3 years from now. Because what I saw from Alabama, what I saw from LSU guys, mm-mm, mm-mm. And I'm not sure anybody beats Alabama this year. They're really good. Let's see. I think Coach O is in a midlife crisis. Lenny, I'm not going to talk about the personals. Look, you can go to plenty of other podcasts and have them talk about Coach O's personal life. I refuse. I don't want people coming up here talking about my personal life. And I'm not sure personal life leaks in, but there's a lot of stuff there going on, and you can go check out other shows for that. Let's see here. I can see that running down the road, shirtless and people talking about that. Ate my lunch. Coach sent it and looked like we were on a beach. I was a sophomore in my defense. Oh, Osmond talking about getting wrecked by Will Clapp. It happens, my dude. It happens. Let's see here. 5 cannot block 7. Carl the cat. Cool cat. Carl Dunn. Some great commentary. That's right. But you know what 5 can do? 5 can adjust inside to out and give the quarterback some time. And that quarterback, if 7 are coming, a smart quarterback knows how to find that blitz and throw to where the blitzer was. So if you're blocking inside to out well enough, which this team did not, you should have success. Period. Because there's a guy missing in that coverage. Go throw to your open guy. And Max Johnson does a pretty good job identifying him. He just wants to be standing straight up and complete his pass and doesn't want to throw off his back feet. When Dave left, all the I don't want to say that because, I mean, there's some good players and stuff, but the coaching has not been the level. Maybe Durante Jones turns it around. I did see some things I liked out of the defense, and UCLA probably will have a good offense this year. Let's see. LSU's offense made Aranda's defense look good in 2019. I don't think so, Steve. I think that offense in 2019 put that defense back on the field pretty damn quickly. Certainly a lot of plays, and then, of course, removed pressure from the team. As much as the UCLA social post hurt my soul, that was a great 100%, and it didn't hurt my soul at all because, you act an ass and you have fun afterward. I mean, Coach O acted an ass, talked that shit before the game, and you get the smackdown. Now, they did use Get the Gat as their post-game music, and they posted a video about that, and they have Sissy Blue shirt. I think as much fun as we love to have on social media, I think I saw a poll out there. Are you mad? Is it a bad reflection of Coach O? Are you upset with UCLA? I think 2% of people said they're upset with UCLA. Good for them. Enjoy the win. I don't think UCLA's had a win this big since they beat Ed Ogeron coaching USC as the interim coach in 2013. I mean, really, it's been almost 10 years. Enjoy it. Have fun. Troll LSU. Here's the thing about trolling, especially LSU with things of that championship team. No matter what you do, you can't take away 15-0. You can't take away Joe Burrow. That's in every record book ever. You can never, ever, ever take away that special season. Let's see here. Bote, elite status. Yeah, absolutely. Get to him underneath more and more. Didn't run tempo in camp. Didn't run it in the game. I agree. It was a very slow approach, kind of an awkward offense to not run high tempo. Starting from last year, Butte has showed up absolutely. Let's see here. I'm going to have I don't know what that means, Osmond. I think it's all good fun. Let's see here. Hard to ignore 5 and 6 since the divorce, not a midlife. I mean, that's where personal issues do leak in, is that, yes, since those personal issues have started, LSU has gone 5 and 6. Worth noting, Ed Ogeron is now 20 and 12 without Joe Burrow and 25 and 3 with Joe Burrow. So anybody looking to mount that argument is sure there. He'll buy the shirt. I will buy the shirt. If the Sissy Blue shirt's out there, I'm getting it. Guys, thank y'all for joining us. I want to thank my sponsor again, Mike Tramonte Seafood and Meat, for sponsoring us. Your tailgating and homegaiting headquarters for the 2021 season. Y'all go give them a try. Tramontes.com. Take a look. Located off the corner of Old Jefferson, right there by Parkview Baptist. He, of course, has the ribeye roll, which is incredible. Chairman's Reserve Wagyu beef, 30 kinds of sausage. Your lunch deli is open until 3 o'clock every day. Catering for your party needs. Again, your headquarters for the 2021 season, your Homegaiting, Tailgaiting headquarters. Guys, thank you all for joining us. What a great show. Thanks, Will Blackwell, for joining us. Y'all have an incredible evening.